Greeting to you all. My name is Mahdi Omar. This is the African Television Network of New England. As mandated by the United States Constitution, our nation gets just one chance each decade to count its population. The U.S. Census counts every resident in the United States. It is mandated by Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution and takes place every 10 years. The data collected by the census determine the number of seats each state has in the U.S. House of Representatives and is also used to distribute billions in federal funds to local communities. The next census in 2020 will require counting an increasingly diverse and growing population of around 330 million people in more than 140 million housing units. To talk about these important questions, I invited two magnificent, distinguished guests. Abdul Rahman Yusuf is the Executive Director and co-founder of the Somali Development Center. He is bilingual and bicultural public administrator and macro-social service practitioner who was born in Somaliland and is a citizen of the United States of America. Abdi oversees all aspects of SDC, including working with the board of directors, volunteers, project teams, and advocacy coalition. He represents SDC before the public government agencies, media, and funders, and also work closely with SDC clients. Josephine Arewa was born and grew up in Nigeria. She holds a BS from Boston College and MBA from Anna Maria College. She is the founder of African Community Organization, NECO, a non-profit community-based organization that collaborates with youth organizations and other diverse groups in the city of Boston to promote peace, cultural exchange, and community development. Welcome to our studio, my fantastic guest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. This studio is not actually new for both of you, so feel free at home. For those of new immigrants who do not know about your organization, briefly tell us about your organization, please. Abdi.
Yeah, I think it's very important for everybody to know why do we do census? What is the purpose of doing the census? As you said, it's done every 10 years in this country, and that is to find out how many people live in different neighborhoods, different cities, different counties, different states, so that the national resources could be distributed accordingly. For example, the number of policemen or policewomen people get, the number of firefighters, number of teachers, you name it, different resources, all depends on the census.
Yes, and your organization as well.
Yes, and we try to educate our folks and the community, the people that we serve, about this issue and how important it is. That's one of the key things that we work on.
Yeah, and tell us a little bit about SDC itself.
Talk about this itself.
So, yeah, Somali Development.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I've got a little cold. My ears are all stuffed up. Well, we're a social service agency. We're a macro social service agency. We've been working with refugees, immigrants, and asylees for the last 22 years, mostly from the Horn of Africa, that is Somali, Ethiopian, Eritrean, Sudanese, and some other West Africans and other immigrants who come to the city for different reasons. So in a nutshell, we are a social service agency, also provide a lot of education on different issues and referral systems.
Very good. Josephine, about NACO. What
Yes. NACO, NACO, that's the
Right.
acronym. That's a National African Community Organization, established in 2006. We collaborate, we are non-profit, and we collaborate with other non-profit organizations in the community to promote education, cultural exchange and enrichment. We participate in diverse community events and activities. We give out toys to children. In other words, throughout the year, we work with youth. We basically do the cultural exchange and enrichment with adults, and then we, different. So this way we share. We are able to understand one another. And then at the end of the year, it's time for us to also work with little kids, underprivileged children, to get toys. And these are many other important things we do in the community, basically in working together and collaborating together.
Yes, thank you very much. Nico, how old is the organization?
It's going 2006, so that should
Getting
be,
old.
Yes, over 10 years.
That's it.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
As you know, the 2020 census is upon us. The United States Census dates back to the birth of the Republic, this nation. And I think the first census administered in 1790. And today, for the first time in the history of this Republic, we will be able to answer the question online. In, I'm sure, 1790, it was paper and pencil. Today, totally different. What are the advantages and disadvantage of answering the 2020 census online?
I'm sorry, can you just, what's the question you asked?
The question is, the first time in the history of this republic, we are going to respond to this questionnaire online.
Online.
The first time.
Okay, yeah.
This 2020. What are the disadvantages and advantage of completing the answer online?
Online, yeah. Well, it's probably a good thing to be doing online, but there are a lot of people who are still not very comfortable using computers and prefer to do things by hand. But I would say the majority of the people now and going forward will probably be very comfortable with using online census tracking and answering online. So I don't really see this as a bad thing. I'm not really sure some of the technical glitch that could come up, or maybe some issues, because given that it's the first time, that I don't know about that. But some people might be not very comfortable using the online version of it and would prefer to do it by hand. So I think that might be also might be an option for some people, I think.
Right here.
Right.
Right here, just.
You see, Africans from the African context, the African people,
Sure.
It's a yes or no for the fact that they don't have the opportunity because they are very busy with work, so they don't have opportunity to go to census classes. When seminars, when the census are offering seminars, forums, they don't have time to go and be able to sit and listen and ask questions, gain better knowledge. So with the online, at least they have time to go absorb, read it, over and over again, get to know what they are looking for. Maybe they can be able to go to like ask.com if there are some things they read and they don't understand it. They can go to like ask.com, what is this, and be able to get the answers that they probably will not be able to have gotten if they have the opportunity to even go to the census seminars, because you have the staffs, they do go and teach, but you will probably see that you may not see Africans in those forums. So by going online, that gives them the opportunity to learn more about the census and get to understand what the census is all about. So I think that's one of the opportunity and privilege and the benefits of them being able to know more about census even after they get home from work or so on, and that, so.
Obviously, economically is advantageous for the department. Census 2020, they save more money. But what about the hacking?
Those are technical dangers that it's a good thing to discuss. I mean, I'm not a computer technical person, but that's a good question. We've seen weird things happen at much higher level in this country in the last few years with regards to hacking into databases and computers. So that is an important issue that people responsible for this should definitely keep in mind.
Yes, you see.
Well, by the way, a mistake of this magnitude is a 10 years mistake.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes.
The hacking.
The hacking, let me say there are a lot of things that goes on when you use the computer.
Yes.
You have the hacking, you have, they could be using it, they don't, and then suddenly the hacking comes in and then they click on something and then they're saying, oh, your computer has been hacked. You call this number if in order for your record not to be given out and so on, and you might face danger and so on, and then they become nervous, So that's a disadvantage, and in the process now, they are not able, they don't know what to do, they are nervous, they are scared, they feel that, oh, now my record is out there, when in fact they could have shut off the computer for a few seconds and turn it back on and be able to do what they have to do. So the hacking is a problem there. Then what about blogging? You find all this blogging, when you are using it, and then you begin to see blogging coming to block what you're doing, and they don't know that they are supposed to just X, and click all those things out and continue. So it brings nervousness, it brings all of these things. So those are the disadvantages, because they are not computer experts or, and so those are the disadvantages. And then in the process, they say, well, please, I don't know what's going on.
That's a very good point,
I don't want to do this, to hell with this census anyway, and all of that. So those are some of the things that it could cause, when they could have just breathed down. If it's hacking, shut off the entire computer completely and then turn it back on, including the modem. Now they want to call the tech support, or they will call the number that they said call, and those are scammers, and it could lead them into, all kinds of problems, and that's the disadvantage.
Yeah.
So they need to know that if they are doing it and then hacking comes in, shut off your computer. Shut off the modem, shut it off for a few seconds.
Yeah.
Turn it back on and continue. If it's blogging, all those bloggings that comes in to block off, X them all out and continue. Don't let it become a nervous thing for you, whereby now your concentration.
That's a good advice.
Is
Good advice.
not- yeah.
Yeah, she's a computer literate, I guess. Huh?
So
Thank you very much. Obviously, the 2020 census will not have any difficulty counting people in Wellesley, Western, Lincoln, and Dover, obviously, for apparent reason. What area in Boston and Massachusetts are the most difficult to count for many reasons?
Well, historically, it's always been difficult to access, in neighborhoods where you have a lot of immigrants, low-income working people. But, the city tries to send out people that could help and, knock at doors and come at different times and to make sure that nobody's missed. So you've got your traditional challenges, and I think this year the president is proposing, as you know,
I have a question.
A different, to make it even more difficult.
Yeah.
But historically it's been, places where immigrants, recent newcomers, people of color, working poor, those are challenging in terms of
Can you be specific?
Yeah, accurately correct. Counting people. Yeah.
Can you be specific a little bit?
Say that again.
Can you be specific a little bit? Obviously.
You mean in our city?
Yeah, we are. Both in Boston area and Massachusetts. Obviously, Lawrence, New Bedford, Lynn.
Yeah. That's what I would say, because it's every 10 years. I think that information is probably available at different census centers and the people who run it. But from what I recall, I was very much involved, not the 2010 census, but the 2000 census.
You have
those
been
were the areas
actively
I remember.
participant, you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, obvious. Boston, you can tell actually. Roxbury, Dorchester, East Boston, Chelsea, that part of the area is less counted. You do have a very good experience because you work with the Spanish community as well, and you live in Boston. So could you be a little bit specific in Metro Boston as well as Massachusetts?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point there. The areas that are difficult, to count, you can look no further also when they do the regular election. Regular election, presidential election, mayoral election, you don't see Africans. How many percentage of Africans do you see? Very small, very small.
Yeah.
You will see a high number of, higher percentage of Hispanic, Haitians, those demographic. And, but so the theory of statistics says you can draw a conclusion from a small thing, how a big thing will look like. If they cannot even come out, you don't see them in a regular election, definitely those areas are hard to count. You won't see them in the census, those are difficult areas to count. Like you already alluded to, they are working. They are not quite knowledgeable about what the U.S. Census is about. They think that if they come out, immigration is coming after them. So those are areas difficult to count. The African, Roxbury, Dorchester, Hyde Park, and when you go to the rural area, those areas are hard to count, to find them, to count, and so on. And all those affects funding too, when funding is being distributed, because you don't see them, they are hard to count. So how do one make them to come out to be counted, and how does it help them if they are looking for help programs? I've got calls about from hospitals to NACO, because they are looking for resources to get help. If they come out and be counted, then they become more obvious. They get to know they are there. But these are difficult areas to count because you don't see them. But is it their fault? What can be done to make them be counted, to know that their areas need to be counted and that their areas is important? I think that's a duty that...
that's a very good point. But while you are at it, you have a very good experience with the Latin community, Spanish community. You would think that they are better organized than Africans, obviously, right?
Yes, very, 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 very. They have the U.S. staff, they have the census staffs there, to where they all come to register. They do all of that. They take it upon themselves to educate. They go door to door knocking. So these are some of the things that African need to learn too to do. Is the African doing that? Like with all due respect, they have the Somalian. How many Africans know that there is a place like that? Do we go knocking door to door? Do we have a meeting to say, okay, can we use your resources for the African point, and then we go knocking door to door, give out flyers? We are not doing that, but these are the things that the Hispanic do that, and I must give credit to the Haitian community because they do that. They take their time. The Caribbeans, they take their time to go, but are we doing that?
No.
So it's one thing to address it. It's one thing to talk about it.
You're right.
But it's another to help them to understand it. So we all have a challenge in this to make sure that those difficult area that is related to us, we have a challenge to make them to understand. So
I'm happy that you gave a credit to Somali Development Center. The Somalians are really playing their part. As you know, the immigration chief in Canada, which is a cabinet position held by Somali, the first Muslim House of Representative from Minnesota is Ilhan Omar. They're doing their part. Really, I am.
She's a U.S. Congresswoman now.
Yes, I know.
She was a
Minnesota
state rep before. Now she's in Washington.
So that's incredible. But Abdi, I have been here for many years, and the first time that I was interested in census was 2010. It was so because of this television program, and. For many new immigrant, if you talk about census, they will say, what are you talking about? Please, in English, simple English, what is census and why should we care? In a simple language for African
Yeah.
community?
Well, first of all, you know, the word African is very broad. I mean, there's so many diverse, 54 countries or 55 countries.
Yeah, but we're the same.
But census is important, extremely important, because politicians want to know who's living where, what districts, what's the number of people, what's the demographics, you know, when it comes to election time and all that.
Yeah.
But more importantly, resources, especially federal resources, have to be allocated based on population.
Yeah.
So, you know, money you get for the policemen, you get for the firefighters, for the schools, all depends on the population count.
Yeah.
And if you are not properly counted and you missed or you're undercounted, then you lose what you are entitled to, resources,
Yeah.
and benefits for your children and family and all that, to have a decent life, you know. So it is extremely important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you rightly said, Africa is broad. The community is very broad, and yes, that's true. But should that be the reason why? I don't think so.
I agree too, yes.
I do not think so. I think if you don't mind, I would like to
Please.
touch on what I think is the issue that Africa don't seem to understand as to why we are at disadvantage. And that is, you know, we are placed in, Africans are placed in a disadvantaged position where you have to trace it back to where the problem originated from. It originated from the European Berlin Conference, where Africa is divided. Mm-hmm. So, as we are sitting here, you know, we are Africans. Sure. But, you know, and we are working together. That's how it should be. But that Berlin Conference, European Berlin Conference, what it did to Africa is to boundaries, split Africa, and then you have the divide and rule. So that's why when we come, instead of us to say, look, we are Africans, let's look for one particular venue and let all of us come together, okay, talk, and then say, okay, West Africa, go knock on all the demographic, or, you know, so we begin to see ourselves as one. We begin to see that this is African interest. This is what, you know, this census is important to us. We are here. We should understand it. So it's part of the problem. So we need to begin to understand that this divide and conquer that originated from the Berlin, we need to begin to untangle it so that we can now begin to see why we are important in this society. Sure. We are important. The census is about us. Yeah. You know.
I understand.
That's what
definitely. I have the same question. I will give you a chance to follow it. I agree with you, even though Abdi tried to tell us that we are huge and massive continent with different countries. Basically, we are definitely the same. The concern and aspiration of the Somali is no any different than Ethiopia or Kenyan Sudanese. In that sense, we are the same. Yes. So I definitely agree. But that's a very, very good point, but I do have a question relating to that. Recently, I was approached by the government agencies.
Can you speak up a little bit? I'm having a hard time hearing you. Just speak up a little.
Yes. I was recently approached by, I'm really loud, I don't know how we can hear me, by Massachusetts Census Equity Fund. And they sent me a link to check the Spring 2009 grant recipient. I have it listed here, huge. There are probably 40, 50. There is one organization related to Africa. Vietnamese, Chinese, Spanish, like we said, Brazilian. Not one single African organization like SDC, NACO, African Television Network or something, to come to you again. What's up? What is going on here? None.
Yeah.
I have it right here.
It
The list.
doesn't surprise me. It
One.
doesn't. It doesn't. And it boils down to this no unity. You know, unity is strength. There is power in unity. And when that unity is not there, it's so important, but it's fragmented. It's very fragmented. We are like broken pieces of...
Useless.
Yes.
Yeah.
So these places you mentioned, they are very bond. When they come, they don't come. Does it mean that they are not diverse in their respect in their country? They are very diverse. But when they come, when they move out, and they come as Vietnamese, Chinese, Brazilian.
Yeah.
You know, the continent itself is what they represent out there. But we, Africans, are not so. So what it is you have all this, you know, what you have, it's broken. So it's like, how do we bring these pieces together?
Yeah.
You know, so that's why we are not there, because we also try to we want to also, I'm a very pragmatic person, and you know, and I say it exactly the way I feel in my heart, and I think there are others that will agree with me. We are also like, if you come, you are, I'm NACO, and then he's Somalian, you are Ethiopian, and in there we begin to want to please who does better than the other, you know. You see that your services is much better, and then you want to prove that, you know, you are better than NACO, and then he wants to, you know.
Sure.
And by the time we do all this, it's like, wait a minute, I don't think these people are serious.
Yes.
What are we going to do with them?
Yeah.
But you find a Vietnamese comes, they have their own differences.
Yeah.
They quarrel among themselves, but when they come out there, they come out as we are Vietnamese. We are doing this to help the Vietnamese community. We are doing that to do this. Spanish, they do the same thing. They have their differences, but they come like this. And the funding, they get it.
Yep.
But because we are so, and it's the Berlin, it's a divide and conquer. We have been divided.
Yeah.
And they conquered us. And so that is what is still, we have become mentally enslaved in this divide and conquer, that we are not working together in unity as African people of African continent.
Yeah.
So until that we understand that, until Africans understand that we need to, you know, and then behind the closed doors, if we want to break our head, that's our problem. But we need to do that.
Yeah.
We need to do
That's
that.
a very, very good point.
Yes.
To follow up, Abdi, here we are here, Brazilian American Center, Framingham, Brazilian Women's Group, Brighton, Cambodian Mutual Assistance Association, you name it, Chinese, Vietnamese, none here. Your point.
Well, like I said, you know, I was involved and very active in the 2000 census.
Yeah.
I was not involved in 2010.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely going to look into that and see what, because that's the kind of stuff that we should be able to share in the so that we can address and get resources and information to be also distributed to organizations that are serving Africans and people from Africa. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I was approached, to be honest with you, but we'll talk.
We'll talk about it
later.
Please, I want to share something.
Yes.
Yeah, like the U.S. Census 10, we got a call because we took part in the Caribbean Festival.
Yes.
And we had our banner with our phone number in it. And we got this call from the Census, U.S. Census.
Yeah, you brought her
Beacon
here,
Street.
remember?
Yes.
She was.
Now, when we had the meeting, this is exactly what I told them. I said, let me tell you something. When you enter a room, and you might find a whole lot of people. You say, oh, wow, I'm in the room with Africans. I said, you are in the room with just the same people, say, an Ethiopian, you are in the room with a tribe in there, not.
Yeah.
So you have to, in order for you to be able to really get the African demographic, we will have to connect you with the different demographic in the African community. So that's how we connected them to different African community,
Yes, sir.
That's in 2010. So these problems, it's not like you walk into the room like you will go into a Cambodian, and you know that as you walk in there, you meet the whole of the Cambodian community, or Russia, Chinese, or Puerto Rico. For the African one, it's not so. You are only
From
in
Bantu village.
Right.
Listen, Josephine, you and I have a very, very terrible, bad experience with funding. You know that, so I don't want to go through that. But Abdi, also you must have had a lot of experience with these different foundations. My question, is there any bias in terms of funding, selecting this viable, good African institution? Sometimes you wonder, sometimes when I received a rejection or denial, I waited until they release the awardees, so to speak, and I see the list. Say Harvard School of Business, 250,000. Boston University, 500,000 or something. And you have this important small organization associated with African name.
Right.
They don't give it weight and value. I wonder those who review those applications have some inherent discrimination or neglect to the viable organization like Somali Development Center, NECO, or our organization.
Right. Yeah, it's funding for different programs in the city and the state and the country is very competitive.
Yeah.
And what you often need is you need a lot of people in any organization working with you doing different things.
Yeah.
For example, as the executive director of the agency, I should be attending a lot of meetings and networking, making connections to let the funders know who we are and the kind of work that we do.
Yeah.
But often what happens is that I'm stuck at the office or stuck at providing direct service to somebody who really needs it.
Yeah.
So it's not so much bias, I think. It's just that we are limited in our capacity to market the services that we provide, to make the necessary connections, and and young people that are from the different community organizations, because we don't have the amount of money that they will require to live in a city like Boston for salaries, they often don't remain within the community, so they want to get a job where they can get paid more money and be able to pay back their student loans and live, fairly okay life here in this city, which is quite expensive.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of the double-edged sword. You know, on one hand, you're providing some important service to people who need it. On the other hand, people who might be willing to give you some resources don't know that, and so this television program obviously helps. Sharing the work that we do with the other populations that don't know, and maybe we'll get in that process of volunteers and people to help us out. But
she has a very good input, Josephine. The funders.
Yes.
I remember, just to give you a little bit feedback, last year we submitted a very, very formidable proposal. And I don't want to mention the foundation, they were very impressed and they contacted us, even interview us, talking to us. And we were saying, finally, alhamdulillah, man. You know what I mean? We were very upbeat. But a week later, they said, sorry, brother. You have been doing magnificent job. Good luck, and you will have a chance. I said, what?
Yeah, it has.
Yes. We do have the experience. When I did the introduction of NACO, we established in 2006, and we've submitted proposals, go to the classes, everything, and it looks good, and you're so confident that, wow, finally I'm going to get even if
resource,
$2,000. And then the next thing is you get this, they praise everything, they like what you're doing, they encourage you to continue to do it, but sorry, you don't get it because it's cash, it's money. Money. And again, it boils down to, I'm going to continue to hamper on this. And maybe it may not click right now, but maybe it will click down the road. It boils down to that, does it mean we are not important in the society? Yes, we are very important. Does it mean that they don't see what we're doing is viable? I will differ in a little bit. I think there's the biasness. I think there's biasness. Truth is bitter, but it's good to tell the truth. There is biasness because the way Africans are looked at. Africans are looked at as people that comes here to work and get money, and just, you don't see them what are they getting also? It's a give and take. What are they getting? What are they, if candidates are running for election, what is the key role? So they look at Africans as people that just comes here to work, make money. They don't trust Africans to say, okay, if we give this to Africa,
they'll squander it.
You see, they don't. So we also have, we also have to be able to convince. So because, that trust is not there. And also Africa has been underestimated. They look down on Africa, So when you give, and make no mistake, you'll find that some chances are, I have good relationship with Caribbeans, of course, but when you go to City Hall, who are the people you find in City Hall? Caribbeans are the people you find in City Hall, and yes, we got to tell the truth here, they have friends with city council and everything. Even if your application is really, really good, and here, It's just a matter of, hey, look, this is an African group here that submitted this. You know, what if the Caribbean
Looked at
it
Yes.
and did not approve it? What do you say? Instead, oh, we have our Caribbean. So something is going on behind
I think so, yeah.
the scene for which you may not get it.
Yeah.
And these people, again, the Berlin Convention has made it in such a way that blacks, you know, blacks don't agree with blacks, you know. Blacks don't want the progress of black. So it's like, because they have that friendship with, you know, those in politics, well, we have our own group. I have my own group. I mean, we can use this funding to do it. You know, these Africans, they are, you know, I mean, we have to speak the truth here.
No, I love it. I
We
love
have
it.
to speak the
you have a
truth.
good-
I'm always very truthful in my viewpoint, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that we don't have I have wonderful Caribbean friends, but this is the truth.
That's a fact.
Something goes on behind the scene, and that's why. So we need to begin to come together. We need to begin to have good relation also with our Caribbean brothers and sisters, this State House. We need to begin to do this in order for the behind the scene role, why we are not getting this funding to.
Yeah, it is really.
happen.
It's
I'm
to be-
sorry, but that's
it's
the
very,
truth.
yeah, it's very discouraging. Would you like to say something, or you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very good point.
Yeah, I know they won't like me, but that's it.
That's a fact. I love it. Yeah. My experience is also really horrible, man. You know, it's the Trump administration reinstated the question about citizenship. As you know, still the Supreme Court has to vote on it maybe this month, whether or not to insert that citizenship question into the 2020 census. Either way, the 2020 census is prepared with citizenship or without. So we will continue. A critic have said it will discourage immigrants who do not have a citizenship here not to be counted, and thus a state like California and New York, with incredible number of immigrants, would lose House of Representatives.
Will be undercounted, yeah.
Yeah.
That's really the most important issue at hand now with this census question.
Yeah.
Is I can only think of one reason what it has never been in there, because census count people. They don't care about their legal status, and you know, people are real. They're there, so therefore they must be counted, because public safety, like I said, employment issues, other resources, housing, all of those things are based on the number of people and where they're living. So this will, I'm afraid, scare a lot of people who might not either have status or are in process, or maybe only are legal residents, even maybe some who are citizens. It's already difficult enough to get everybody counted, but this definitely will guarantee some undercounting, because a lot of people would be staying away and would be concerned about what this could bring to them. So hopefully it will not be there, hopefully, because it doesn't, I don't know what purpose it serves other than to scare people away.
Yes. Obviously, you don't have to be legal. You don't have to be a permanent resident. You don't have to be a citizen to be counted. But when you complete that form, it's a bit intimidating.
Yes. You know, when you put the immigrant, when we talk about immigrants, it comprises of different, you know, Chinese, they are immigrants, aren't they? Are they or not? Chinese, when they come here. People who come from other countries to this this place, to this part, to America, they are immigrants. Whether they came on their own or, somehow, but they are immigrants. So what categories of immigrants are we talking about? Have Africans ever, have they ever come out in these things? Have they ever, come out? So, where, I'm trying to think how to, put my words here. If they have never come out to be counted in any way at all.
Yeah.
Is that what you think? They never counted?
And many times,
Yes.
No, maybe undercounted.
So,
Yes, undercounted.
Yes, or they are undercounted.
Yeah,
Thank you
yeah,
so much.
yeah.
They are undercounted. That is also affecting the ability to be able to get funding. So, what category of immigrants are we talking about? How does it affect?
We have only 2 minutes, so
okay.
closing. Go ahead.
Affect the African, how does it negatively, So I think that it may affect the broader, immigrants.
Yeah.
But for the Africans, do they really, how? Yeah. If I'm asked, that would be my question. How? When they are not even coming out. So they have to come out. They have to be able to be,
Right, but the challenge here is...
Closing.
Yes,
Yeah. Go ahead.
The challenge is, we were talking about earlier how difficult it is to count properly and everybody. So this issue, this question will only add to making sure people are even undercounted more. That's
Thank you.
It shouldn't be there.
Thank you very, very much.
Shouldn't,
Really, it was a very fantastic interview. We will have more as we continue, as we go forward with 2020 census.
Yes.
You have been watching the African Television Network of New England. Thank you for watching. Be counted. Don't forget 2020 census. We will see you.